one last check to make sure I wasn't breaking NDA anywhere. I think we're okay. Pretty sure we're alright. Oh! Been rushing around so much post-GDC. Oh! Hope everyone's having a wonderful post-GDC week. It's been pretty crazy. My co-founder Jeff Tangstock is at PAX East right now, so he's holding down the, well, a few different booths, I'm sure. I think he's there with Brace Yourself Games, showing Phantom Brigade and Industries of Titan. I think he's also helping out with Tunic a little bit, as well as Descenders from Rage Squid at the No More Robots booth. So if you're in that area, heading to PAX East again, then definitely go say hi. I'm sure he'd be happy to hear from you. And you were listening to the sweet sounds of Terrence Lee, speaking of Tunic, Life Formed. Let's zoom in a bit, shall we? It's too good. Actually, check this out. Check this out. It's like this one, only a little more warm. The sweet, sweet sounds of vinyl. I picked up this guy here too, actually. Any of the true fans out there knowing the IGF talents of the 140 team. 140 is so good. Holy. Hey everyone in the chat. How's everyone doing? I already see some names from our audio mentoring roundtables, so welcome on in. How was your GDC? You're asking me, Daniel? Also, Daniel, I was looking for your freaking Twitter. Look at this. You can see I clicked it. You can see it was still highlighted. This button doesn't work, man. Look at this. I was like, where'd Dan Kim audio go? I tried. I tried to mention you in that tweet of ours, but it's like, well, I guess he's off Twitter. You know, some people quit Twitter. It makes sense. I thought perhaps that's what it was, but looks like no. Looks like you're still on, because you replied and you were like, let's go. Woo. Daniel Kim audio, not Dan Kim. There you go. Yeah, exactly. You changed that Twitter. Changed the handle. That's just fun. Well, what can we chat about briefly here? GDC was pretty sick for us this year. Most GDC weeks we've had in the past, especially the first few as Power Up Audio, were really, really focused and hustling hard. So we didn't do things like, oh, I don't know, hang with friends or anything. It was mostly making new friends with the hopes of a long game of one day working with those people, right? And I mean, I can trace back to current projects. If you kind of trace back the moments that led to getting that project, like Celeste, for example, it traces it all the way back, and I can trace it back to meeting Matt Thorson and Noel Berry at the Full Indie Game Jam in June 2012, you know? Fast forward many years, and we released Celeste, and it won freaking Best Audio at the Game Developers Choice Awards at GDC this year. Freaking crazy. Completely crazy. In that same category was Tetris Effect, God of War, Red Dead 2, and Spider-Man, I think, was the other one? Ridiculous. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks a lot. Totally crazy. We did not think... I mean, Celeste is up for a few things, so we're like, oh, we might win one of them, you know, who knows? I thought it might win design. That was my prediction. It did not win design. Into the Breach won design, so... Not us, but we'll take it, and being part of the team. We'll claim it for our own. It's totally not our award, but we're stoked for Justin, obviously, and Matthew. So, Yeah, so it ended up being audio. And then after we won the audio award, we're like, Game of the Year? Like, maybe, who knows? But alas, we did not win Game of the Year. God of War won it, and I totally am behind that, absolutely. They killed it. They have a beloved game. They brought back God of War. And it was as good as it was. Pretty incredible, actually. So, definitely crazy. Welcome on in, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Audio Birdie with the first. Good to see you, pal. Duncan Sue. Hey, Duncan. Thanks for popping in, pal. We got Ben here, Farrell, John Elliott, Daniel Kim. I'm glad you're here, buddy. It's always much easier when folks are here to answer questions and clarify ambitions and motivations and all these things, you know? We got Luke, Classic, Andy G Bass. Hey, Andy. Andrew Nature Boy. A lot of people in here right now. Sean Laval. Yo. Hey, buddy. Alex Barnhart, one of the many Barns. If any of you are unfamiliar with this, there once was a time when there was 7 of our regulars who were Alex Barnhart, Craig Barnes, Barney Orem. All these Barnes, man. And then Derek Brown, but we call him Derek Barn. He's like an honorary Barn. Derek Barn. Yo, Richard F Mod. Yeah, I was at the F Mod booth also. We'll do a quick kind of run through GDC here. I got Andrea waiting to come on the line. So I'll do a quick little summary, but barnstorming hilarious. So GDC. Real quick, we did an audio mentoring roundtable on the Monday morning, as we have in past years also. And it was killer. It was a great time. We had 24 people show up. It was a record roundtable, I guess, as far as attendance goes. And we just did the one day this year. Our first year we did 2. I think we did the one last year too. And super informal. We just tweeted out a couple times, like, be here this time and we'll talk to you about whatever kind of thing. So we had a lot of folks like Duncan showed up for it, and we're asking good questions and such. And it went really well. I think, at least. Some people followed up and were saying how much they appreciate folks like us making time in the chaos that is GDC week. So we had us two, myself, my co-founder Jeff Tangsock, as well as Matthew Martinson rolled up. He used to be co-host of Real Talk, of course. He's over audio lead, kind of, audio guru over at Clay Entertainment here in Vancouver. And also Dan. Freaking C418, Daniel. They're like, who are you? He's like, I did music for Minecraft. Everyone's like, oh, you did music for Minecraft. I've heard of it. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Went really well. And then I did a mentoring roundtable that was like sanctioned by GDC in the mentoring lounge in the South Hall, I think. And it was not as good. It was kind of weird. They split it between Bobby Stein, who's a narrative something, not lead, but he's up there at ArenaNet, and super nice guy, had a lot of good things to say, but it's kind of strange, like, being at a narrative mentoring table, and also myself and Ariel Gross from Team Audio doing audio mentoring. So, like, the narrative folks would talk about narrative for a bit, and we'd, like, sit there and wait, and then we'd talk about audio for a bit, and they'd sit there and wait for us. It was just kind of, I don't know, it wasn't ideal, and had a fraction of the population that our own informal roundtable had, so I think I'll just forego that next year if they ask me back, and just do our own thing again. 'Cause it's super fun and people seem to show up for it, so why not keep doing it, right? And then also, so yeah, the GDCAs happened, IGF happened. A lot of love for Beat Saber. That was so cool, man. What a good game. And they were just so they had the audience choice. They were audience choice this year, and it was just hilarious. 'Cause we were like right behind their table, and there's the guys from the Czech Republic, right? And they announced the award, and the main guy is on his phone, and his colleague stands up, and he's just like, looking at his colleague, like, are we going up or what are you doing? He's like, what? I just had no idea. It's so funny, man. And that was us with Celeste last year for IGF, exactly the same thing. We're just like, just didn't even realize it. We had an award that could be won still. But anyways. But enough of that, right? I think. Is that all to be talked about for audio things last week? I think so. As far as like our direct involvement, at least. Ariel Gross is your audio mentoring mentor right now. Awesome. You could do much worse. He's awesome. Super good guy. Okay, so today on Real Talk, hey, I fixed my criteria slide also. Look at this. Yeah, it's no longer weird and strange. So we got Real Talk today with Andrea Chang, who has graciously made the time to help us out and give Daniel Kim audio in the chat a little bit of love. And you fixed your Twitter link, did you? Let's do a hard reset here. Hey! Top marks for fast iteration. Andrea Chang is currently leading the audio team over at High Res Studios. That's the team that brought you Smite, among other games. And she's previously of EA and Microsoft. She's been around for a while. So she's going to be hopping on with us and giving Daniel Kim a piece of her mind. So I'm sure it'll be fine. But let me just mute Lifeformed here, and I'll get Andrea on the line. And I'll try and make Skype's obnoxious, super loud ringtone quieter while it's happening. Success.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey.
How's it going?
So good. I saw you in the chat, though. That's Sparkly Starburst in the chat, by the way, if people don't realize. That's Andrea.
Hi, chat.
Oh, I should turn off the side chain, too. I'm stomping all over you. There we go. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks again for making the time. I know post-GDC is pretty busy for everyone, so appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah, this is like the fun part of my day. Yeah.
It's always a little bit... I look forward to Real Talk every week, honestly, but yeah, some weeks I'm like, oh my god, I'm so busy right now. Just gotta like rush into getting everything set up for
kind
us.
of
So.
what we talked about. It's like working out, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I was saying, I mean, this often comes up on Real Talk also when folks have, and don't, I almost spoke too soon here. We got blog in the top right corner, blog. So we'll get to that in a second, but a very common kind of joke little game we play is like, when do you think the last blog post was?
Oh yeah, that's a good sign of, I guess, like how busy someone is probably, or how lazy.
Well, exactly, right? You have to make assumptions, so you can't really be sure.
Right.
But yeah, so before, I was just talking to Andrea before the stream went live, everyone, and was saying how, Real Talk is on our schedule. So even if we're busy, we knew it was happening, and we're still going to do it. It's like the 90 minutes, just do it, get out of the way, and like move on to our work again, right? And the moment we don't do it 1 week, it becomes very easy to not do it again. So we try and keep it going. So same thing with blogs. I mean, when you date posts or when you date your reel or when you put dates on things or say, this is a weekly show we're putting on, weekly a podcast. Like, well, how long are you going to make it weekly? We'll see.
Yeah, it's like New Year's resolutions a little bit.
Yeah, very, very similar. Yeah. So, and Matt Desk in the chat, there he is. And of course, I should have mentioned as well, Matt put on Carousel Con again. And I wasn't able to make it myself. I know Jeff swung by near the end of it, or at some point. And I did see various pictures too, and it seemed like it was freaking crazy turnout, Matt. So I'm good on you. I know folks appreciate your time. And I mentioned as well, Matt, if you didn't see that you were at our audio mentoring roundtable, so thanks for that too, buddy. Okay, so anyways, Andrea, thanks so much. The one thing that I won't make you talk about yourself too much, but given the nature of this stream and it's all in the effort or in the interest of trying to get people the gig they're looking for or some traction in their own careers, it's always kind of curious to hear or interesting to hear how people who are now established and now doing it, like how they got their first gig. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that with us, that'd be amazing.
Oh no, yeah, totally. I think it's super important, and I actually, I also, it's funny we're talking about blogs because that was one of the first reasons why I decided to start a blog, just because, it's a really hard path to get into, and a lot of people have just been asking me, like, how did you get your start? And so I was like, I got tired of like writing out the same paragraph and copy and pasting it, and so I just started a blog, and that was like actually the reason why I started that. But to answer your question, so how I got started was in high school. You know, it was stressful being a high school student, and so I turned to music, and um, I got into music composition. And you know, when you're young, you're just like, oh yeah, I can do anything. Like I can like accomplish my dreams. I mean, not to like be a downer or anything, but I like didn't have any sense of reality or just
Right,
like
right.
how
Yeah,
any like life worked in general.
sure.
Um, and and so yeah, and so I went to UCLA to study music, and I was like, oh man, I want to be like Hans Zimmer, you know. And actually, UCLA has a very academic program, and it's a bit like they kind of like look down on film scoring a little because it's not um, like very like not as theoretical, and it's more like for the common people, I guess.
No,
Um,
definitely. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
yeah, a lot of the music that I was writing in college, like people just couldn't understand because you know to them it was just, it did sound like random notes on a piano, and then you know you kind of call it art, kind of like random splotches of paint on a canvas, and like you know contemporary music, contemporary art type thing.
Sure.
And so I wanted to be able to connect with people on an emotional level and be able to actually share my work and have it be appreciated, and just be proud of my work. And so I decided, you know, I want to go into film scoring. And I ended up going to USC for their 1 year program, their graduate program, which was scoring for motion pictures and television. And
Hmm.
that was a really, really good experience for me because I learned like just the nitty gritty of everything that's required to be a film composer. We pretty much just like I lived at Kinko's pretty much for like the whole year, like just orchestrating all of you know the music that I wrote, conducting it, and we recorded it with John Williams's musicians, and
Hmm.
you really learn about like how to work with union, you know, how union works, just because like once you go overtime by like, you know, a minute, you get charged like double rate. And so that was just, you know, really good learning. And it made me realize that I didn't really want to go into that. And you know, I even like started assisting some TV and film composers, and a lot of them were just you know a little bit unhappy,
Hmm.
and you know it's just like it depends on what you want in life, and to me like balance was kind of an important thing. And one of the composers that I actually worked under was just like, yeah, you know, if you want to be an assistant under me, like you can't have any like personal relationships, just because we want people to focus on their craft, and those are just like extra distractions and extra. So like people
Right,
are really
right. Yeah,
hardcore, you know,
yeah.
and I understand that, and you know they're really good at what they do, but for me, like um, I just that wasn't for me. And so while I was, you know, at USC, they have a really good video game department, and I started getting plugged into a lot of the student projects there. I just pushed myself. Like I actually got voted most shy in high school. And
Oh
so,
no.
I know. Like
It's like, hey, you're shy. We're gonna give you an award for how shy you are. Here's the
I
spotlight.
know it's weird, right? But yeah, and so it was like definitely a very like I guess trying thing for me. Just
Hmm.
like I remember going to my first GDC, and it's really hard hustling as a composer, especially if
Oh
you
yeah.
are like more introverted and you are more shy. It's like any person that I made eye contact with, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to like you know talk to them and get their card and whatever. And so I pretty much just like was, you know, like I started contracting in when I was at USC, and I worked on like 30 student projects, and
Wow.
I was like on a first name basis with the director of the game department there. And, you know, he treated me like one of his students, even though I wasn't a part of the class, but it was just because I ended up working on like almost every single project that they had. And so he ended up hooking me up with a lot of connections in Silicon Valley with different startups. And yeah, that's kind of like, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just jumped in and started contracting with a lot of social game companies and like Facebook games. And, you know, like the Silicon Valley is just full of
Totally.
like
Yeah,
startups, right?
I'm
So,
very familiar with that whole environment. I did a lot
yeah,
of social games, casual games, mobile games, and I was kind of coming to myself. So yeah.
right. So I think that was a great learning for me, just like not just only from the music and sound design standpoint, but also from just like a like learning how to run your own business standpoint. Like, because I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
fully understand that, you know, if I wanted to be like a freelance audio person, that meant like also knowing how to invoice people and knowing what to charge. And
Yes.
you know, it's like a whole thing. And I was like, wow, this is like really crazy. Um, and so then I was like, okay, well, you know, I kind of want to start working more on like AAA games, and I was trying to figure out how to kind of make that leap. And I noticed, like, you know, when I was applying for jobs, a lot of the descriptions are like, oh, you know, you need this skill, like you need to know why, so you need to know implementation, and that's not something that's like really commonly taught in schools at the time when I was in school.
Right.
And so, yeah, so I like did some research, and I was like, oh, the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences in Arizona has like a good game audio program. And it's only like 7 months, which is like, yay, because I was like, I don't want to go through more schooling. And then my parents were like, yeah, we don't want to pay for more schooling. And so, yeah, it worked out for everyone. And I ended up like just freelancing a lot and saving up. I actually like paid for all of that myself, like living at home and just like trying to like work on as many projects as I could to like pay myself through like recording school and engineering school. And so yeah, like, you know, that's where I kind of like got all of my engineering and technical chops from. And yeah, I had no idea if that was going to be worth it at the end.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I was just like, yeah, you know, it's worth a shot. And yeah, and so then I saw a job online for electronic arts, and I just applied to it, and I was like, yeah, I probably won't get it because there's like a zillion people who apply for game audio jobs.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, the interview processes are always so long for those, and so I actually heard back, and I was like, yeah, you know, that's great and everything, but I was like, I'm gonna set low expectations, that way you know, if I get disappointed, it won't be too bad.
Like devastating. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the goal is to set low. Um, and so, yeah, and so then, you know, they gave me a test, and then I like took a week to, you know, just a general test in like where they strip out all the audio, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, can you put like sound design and music and VO for it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this game was like similar to League of Legends, so it's like a MOBA type game that EA was making, and so the test was like was some of the league champions and their abilities.
Whoa, the EA test was League content?
Uh, yeah.
That's crazy to me. Okay, great. All right, carry on.
Yeah, and so and then like, you know, I didn't have access to any like VO talent or anything, and so one of the champions that I had to sound design was Diana, and she's like, you know, kind of like
Scorn of the moon.
yeah, and so and then, you know, I just had me, right, and so like, and I was like, I'm not gonna like, I didn't feel like, you know, paying for someone, and so I was just like, hi, yeah, you know, and like, come here.
Come here right now. Come here.
Yeah, so that was actually just like, yeah, so it was like totally like not the right fit voice wise at all. And so, like, yeah, the audio director got back to me, and and he was like, yeah, it was like great sound design, and the music was good too, but yeah, the VO, like, um, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, that was just me. Like, he was like, can you just like maybe turn in a version that's like angrier? And so I don't know, I just did the best that I could, and I just
Whoa, you
like,
did a retake? Crazy. Okay.
and so it was like, yeah, it was just wrong. But yeah, but then I think I'm glad that he was able to see past that. um, yeah, and so yeah, and then I ended up like going for the in-person interview there. And it was just like I was like so in awe because it was my first time at a like a a big game studio, and it looked like E3, like with all the lights and all the big statues of all their like champions everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
like during the full day interview, like the audio director there actually took me out for ice cream, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like a field trip. This is great. I totally want to work here.
That's the most important part of the interview, actually. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's like you go in and they'll talk
Yeah.
about your responsibilities and obligations and such, and your skill sets and like what kind of tasks you'll be doing, and you'll meet the team, sure. But like the beers afterwards, the ice cream afterwards, like that's when they realize like, can I work with this person? That's kind of the most
Yeah,
important test, I
yeah.
think.
And so, yeah, and so then they had some additional like questions after that, like, and so the whole process was like maybe 2.5 months long,
Mm.
and yeah, so I was just like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna keep trucking along and just keep on doing what I currently was doing, and yeah, and then I ended up getting the job, and then I moved up, and uh,
I guess ice cream went well.
yeah, it did. And so I ended up talking to the audio director afterwards, and he was like, yeah, there were like 900 applicants, and I'm like, oh my gosh, And so I feel like really lucky and blessed that it worked out. But
Mm-hmm.
like honestly, a lot of that is just like preference and also luck. But then it's just like, yeah, I feel like you can only do so much, but like it's important to make sure that you're ready on your end, and
Yeah,
then
it's the classic
um,
like adage of luck
yeah,
being opportunity meeting preparedness. So if you'd
yeah,
gotten that same opportunity and you weren't prepared, then it wouldn't have worked out. But thankfully you
yeah,
were. There you go.
yeah. So then that was like totally cool, and I worked there for maybe like 2.5 years or so, and it was a great learning opportunity where because it was a live game, and it was just me and the audio director, and so we pretty much had like 3-week cadences where we would release like a champion every 3 weeks, and also like skins and voice packs and announcer packs and
Hmm.
all that jazz. And so it was like a lot of it was like a lot of work. And working on a live game was also a very interesting experience. Just interacting with community, um, and just like you get direct, immediate feedback on if people love or hate something. And so that's good.
Hmm.
Like you learn a lot from that. Yeah, and so that was like I really enjoyed working on Dawn Gate because it was just a really beautiful game.
I
But
was
then,
going to ask, is it Dawn Gate? Because you didn't say the name of it yet. So I
oh
was
yeah,
like,
I'm sorry. Yeah, the name of the game was Dawn Gate, and it was free to play MOBA, and then it had like a pretty tragic ending.
mhm.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it had like
it,
a short beta and it was canceled or something like that. Or
yeah. So yeah, it was like canceled. The company or EA just decided to go in a different direction, and like
hmm.
not the MOBA direction. And so they shifted us to like they wanted us to make mobile games, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, and then like half the team left, and then team morale was pretty low, and I was just like, yeah, I have to like I wasn't happy either, and a lot of the people I really enjoyed working with left as well, and so I was like, yeah, it's just like time for a new gig and to move on. And yeah, and so then it was just like another like blind applying to things all over the place, and
Mm-hmm,
then
mm-hmm.
yeah, and then I landed the gig at Microsoft, and I actually like had no idea like what it was because it was just so secretive. You know how like those things are.
Oh yeah,
Um,
totally. Yeah.
yeah, and I remember, in the description, it was like, yeah, like we're looking for someone to work in our studio named Good Science, and then I was like, Good Science? That's such a weird name, and I thought it was like a spam post, and I was really, like,
Mm-hmm.
I was like freaking out a little bit. I was worried that maybe I had applied to like, gave all my information to
Sure, like
like,
you fell for it kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
like being fished or something. Um, and so I actually like knew someone at Microsoft. I'm like, is there a studio named Good Science? They're like, oh yeah, yeah, that's legit. I'm like, oh thank God.
Yeah, it's so common. Like I got a buddy at Epic who was
Huh.
like joking around saying, "Yeah, we'll have a big stand-up meeting with like a couple hundred people in the room, and they'll be at the front being like, okay, so do you have time for this?" He's like, "No, I'm on project whatever, like Project Good Science, right?" And like
Yeah,
no one in the room knows what that is. Like even though they're at the same place, like there's all these
yeah,
little pockets
yeah,
of workers working on different stuff, and they're so tight-lipped and everything, you know. So it's very I think it's very common in big studios like that.
yeah, for sure. Like, there were some doors even that like my badge wouldn't work to get into, so I would have to like walk around all like the far route to
Oh yeah,
get to
for
where I
sure.
needed to go.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was like a good experience too at Microsoft. It was really different. I didn't like expect it to be as different, going from a game company to a non game company.
Mhm.
But just like the culture and like the pacing is like way slower, and the emphasis on things is really different. And but I like learned to grow in other ways. And a lot of it, oh yes, I should talk about what I was actually working on there. So at Microsoft, the first team that I joined was a HoloLens team.
Mhm.
So HoloLens, like the augmented reality, like the, yeah,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
yeah, okay. You
Oh
know
yeah.
what HoloLens, yeah, okay. And so, yeah, it was like a totally new platform, at the time, and so like designing for audio was a bit challenging for it, just because there were just so many unknowns, in, in regards to both implementation as well as, and then
Yeah, it
the
seems
speakers.
like a research and development gig at that point almost if it's so new.
Yeah, yeah. So like the speakers, on there are pretty small. So like also like learning how to design things
Mm-hmm.
to make it sound good, like make it still sound like a big epic, low, like without the low end, was
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
also a challenge.
Yeah,
And
we did a really brief contract gig on HoloLens a while back that's still very
yeah,
NDA, so we can't talk about it. But I'm happy to tell you, I am familiar with this. You know, we had the same kind of challenges ourselves too.
yeah. And so, and then spatial audio was like super cool though, to be able to work with. And there are a lot of things, designing for that where it was based on, like, you really have to think about people's psychology of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, we did tests where, we would put like bird sounds, like we would put the emitter like down at people's feet, but then they would still look up even though the sound is like down there, and it's just because we're so wired that way. And
Oh, that's
then
funny.
there were
Like birds
also
are up. Like, right, right.
and then, like certain sounds also spatialize better than others. Um, like things that are more material based, like if I like knock on wood, or like things that you hear in your everyday life, like
Mm-hmm.
they spatialize better versus like synthesized or UI type sounds. Like, it's harder for us to identify where they are because, um, I guess we're not as used to
Yeah,
hearing
I
them
suppose you've never
normally.
heard them in your day-to-day life, right? So you wouldn't be like,
Yeah,
oh, well, the door sound's coming from the door, probably. It's like, where's this
right.
like
Yeah.
beep sound coming from? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, sorry, am I like deviating too much? I feel like,
No, no, I'm happy to hear it. Like this is definitely. I mean, your story is
okay,
definitely unique from all of ours. So, uh,
yeah. And so, and then, one thing that we found was that like actually voice was one of the things that spatialized really, really well. And that makes sense because, like in nature and everything, like the voice is something that, you know, we hear and interact with on a daily basis. So it makes sense that you know, everything like you can hear it, like especially like the best test is like putting something directly behind your head and seeing like if you can hear it or not. And
Yeah.
voice was one thing that was like more consistent where people could identify that better.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was like yeah, so you know, I can go on and on, but like there were just a lot of things in terms of design where like I never thought about before for HoloLens. But it was just also, yeah, a lot of it was working with the hardware. They, you know, these developers, they're developing these things and they don't think about audio at all. And like, I remember initially, like even the recording volume was tied to the playback volume, and you know, with so the app that I worked on there was called ActionGram, and it's already released out now, so I can talk about it.
Yeah. It's always
Yeah,
always a treat.
yeah,
Yeah, not it's like not always the case at all. Either you can never talk about it or it never releases, like one of those two things.
yeah, exactly. So ActionGram was actually let me see. Like, I think the best way to describe it is you can record home videos on the HoloLens. Like, that's essentially what ActionGram was. Like, you would,
Awesome.
so like, we had all these assets inside our gallery, and these were all like recorded with real people. We would like one of them was like George Takei, for example, and so we put George Takei in one of those green rooms and then recorded like 360 video and also his audio. And so, you know, obviously the job was like also to clean up the audio and make it sound good.
So, sorry to just jump in. Were you working with like volumetric video?
Yeah.
So I heard those words the first time like Thursday, very recently, from a buddy of
Yeah.
mine. I was like, this is definitely way outside my entire wheelhouse. So very, very cool.
And it's also like really like I forgot how big it was, like, but it's like it's the size of that video is like so huge. Anyways,
Yeah.
and so so basically we would record these people, and sometimes it's like animals, like we had like a goat, like a bang goat, or no, that's not the sound that a goat makes, but yeah, anyway, so we had all these different assets, and some of them were real, like real people and real animals, and some of them were animations that our animators made. And we, so it was pretty much like sound designing and adding, you know, music and whatever is needed to those assets, and then implementing the audio using like the spatial sound stuff. And so then what would happen is that you can take any of these assets and then you can like create like, you can press record on the HoloLens and then create a video in mixed reality with it. So like if there's like one asset with like a ninja that's like punching the air, like you can actually like these assets you can also enlarge and then make smaller as well. And so, you know, you can put like the ninja on your friend's shoulder and have it like pretend to punch his nose or something, and then make like a funny video and then share it with your friends on social media. And so that's kind of like, you know, the gist of it. And so we collaborated with a lot of like actors like George Takei, and then we also like had like Hello Kitty stuff, so did a lot of branding, and then there were also some Warcraft IP in there, and so it was just it was very interesting, you know, gig. So like you would see like there's like footage of George Takei, and he's like seeing himself in mixed reality, and he's like ha 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 in mixed reality, like his little character is doing that, and then he like laughs in real life and he's like ha 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 at his own character. So it's just like really awesome, like, you know, awesome interactions.
Yeah, it's there's definitely a lot of like kind of interesting. So the fellow I was talking to, I won't like talk about who it was too much. I'm not sure if that's okay to say for his sake or not, so I'll leave it alone. But I was talking to him about like volumetric video and about I was like, this is so far outside my understanding, like anything I've ever thought about, that I don't even know what the audio problems to solve would be. And he's like, I got a list. Like, do you want to see the list of problems? And
Yeah.
the idea of like capturing I just see like Dan came in the chats asking about what this thing is, and the idea that you're capturing like a 3D event basically, and it could be actors, performers, or objects or anything. But it's like a giant. Think of like the LA Noir behind the scenes thing with the actors in the kind of stage with all the cameras in their face, all the little sensors and stuff. It's like that kind of, but way bigger. At least the stage I saw was massive. It's like a huge geodesic dome, and the idea of like these things you're capturing need to be sound sources that you can move around freely. That's a crazy problem to solve.
Yeah.
So this is all like that sounds like a really interesting kind of like gig to just land in to find yourself in, and it's like, well, now here I am. So let's figure it out.
Right.
Yeah. So you were there for a while, and then you.
Oh yeah, and then I switched over to a different team, which was like the central audio team, and we pretty much supported all of like the Windows and HoloLens apps across Microsoft, and that was also that was a totally different type of experience. Working on a centralized team, you get to kind of touch on every single project a little bit, and so it's more of a bird's eye view type of thing where you can affect things on a bigger level. So I worked on a lot of like sonic branding stuff for Microsoft and music direction guidelines and then we also did a lot of prototyping where we would work on tools that would be beneficial for audio designers across multiple teams and just figuring out ways where we could innovate upon audio. And so there was also a lot of research involved in my role, which was also something that I hadn't done ever. And it's like thinking also about audio on a deeper level, where, for example, what is this sound actually communicating to you? Like, what is this, when I hear the email sound, does this signify or communicate to me that I'm receiving a message? Or how do alert sounds actually communicate that feeling of urgency and to pay attention to this, right?
Wow, well, that seems like a really unique job. Like there's a fellow talking to me at GDC about audio roles. Like, what roles are there in sound design in the world? And I'm like, wow, that's a big question. Like there's literally jobs, like there's someone working at BMW and their job is like practical sound design, designing what it sounds like to close the door of like their new vehicle. Like that's a job that someone has.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
What that communicates,
Yeah, you don't think about that, but a lot of thought actually goes into those types of things. And, I even did research on bird calls and how animals communicate with each other in nature and how, squirrels and they have that barking call. To kind of signify to their the mommy squirrel to the baby squirrel, oh no, there's a cat down there. And so that trill element kind of is even found in nature to communicate those types of urgency things. And so maybe we can apply that to our sounds where it's more instinctual and part of human nature. Maybe all our alarm sounds have trills or those things.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
So so after all of that, you find yourself now at. Do you leave? When do you leave Microsoft? How recently was that?
Let me see. That was September 2018.
Okay, so quite recently, and now you're at. You find yourself leading the various teams at High Res. I guess you probably can't talk too much about that, but.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, essentially, right now, yeah, I'm supervising 5 different games at High Res right now, and it's very surprising because a lot of times it's really hard for audio to get resources because people don't think that they need audio or
they don't think that, Andrea? Are you kidding me? That's a thing that happens? No.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely
Yeah,
people got to fight absolutely in like it's like here's something, say something, like very much the case like for QA and to
yeah.
have resources, like to have time to even do our job at the very end of the entire timeline. Yeah, so I don't envy you being on that many teams having to like prod
No,
that many people with your elbow, But
it's
anyways,
actually the opposite. Like, they actually are so supportive of audio, like devoting resources to audio. Actually, like, within like my first week, like on Friday, like they basically like called me into that position to kind of increase the quality of audio across the board for all of their games. And so because they knew that they needed that, and so I actually asked for like uh, audio heads on the first Friday that I got there, and they actually granted it to me. So we're actually hiring right now for like senior sound designer, senior technical sound designer, and audio programmer. So essentially,
yo,
like,
yeah,
um, yeah, essentially all of the roles. And so they're very supportive of that. And so I was like super shocked, like it was just day and night between like Microsoft and Hi-Res.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, yeah, so if you guys out there see the postings, like, we would love to have you apply, and join our team. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. So like, I feel like the real talk stuff definitely aligns with,
Like you're literally dropping into the recruitment stage of your
yeah,
of your career right
exactly.
now. There you go.
Yeah.
Do you recall what the name of your very first paid game was? Like a game for which you received any payment at all? Like you
Um,
mentioned invoicing a long time ago, right?
yeah, I think it was, there's this company, they don't exist anymore, but the company was called Booyah, like Booyah. And yeah, they were making social games, and I was just like so excited. I met them at one of those, I don't think it was at GDC, it was another one of those mobile game conferences. And yeah, I don't remember the name of the game. I'm not even sure if it got released,
I'm looking
but yeah,
at the Wikipedia page right now. Actually, here it is. There's like it's a very small page. It's
yeah,
not much to
yeah.
look at. Um, Keith Lee, Brian Morrisroe, and Sam Christensen. Okay, great. Uh, there
I
is
think
Booyah's
they
My Town. Was it called My Town? I don't know. Who knows?
um,
As a
I don't
Facebook, as a
remember what it was
and
called.
nightclub. Okay,
I don't think it was My Town. I think it was the one that was their first title. I think it was like the one after that. But
we got
yeah.
My Town, My Town 2, My Town Animals, Nightclub City.
Oh, it
Anyways,
might have been Nightclub City
there you
because like
go. Nightclub City.
there's like a lot of like like club music for that.
Perfect. Okay. I love hearing about kind of what various folks' journeys have been because, of course, everyone's is so unique and it's so cool to hear kind
Yeah.
of the right place, right time stuff and the various, pits of fire you were dropped into. Like, just figure it out. And so
Right.
that's super awesome. Thanks so much for sharing all that. And so I'm going to move on to Real Talk with Daniel Kim Audio. You have the page there, right? DanielKimAudio.com?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Killer. Okay, awesome. So, if anyone in the chat is unfamiliar, this is Real Talk. My name is Kevin Regimi. If you're just rolling in, I'm at Power Up Audio with my co-founder Jeff Tangsock, as well as Cole Verteber and Joey Goddard, and soon Craig Barnes, one of the Barnes, is joining us on May 1st to do full-time work for hopefully a while. And so, Real Talk is a thing we started a long time ago. Myself and Matthew Martinson at Clay were co-hosting for a long time. Matthew is now way too busy doing too many amazing things, giving back to community so much as it is. So now it's just me. You're stuck with me and gracious guest hosts like Andrea Chang at High Res. We're looking at demo reels submitted to us by up and coming folks in the game audio industry. Today it's Daniel Kim. And we're going to be looking at stuff from an angle of these 4 criteria down below my video pane. We've got presentation, material selection, content quality, and distinction. For presentation, we're looking at the entire site on the whole, what info is conveyed, if it's enough, if it's too much, if navigation is easy, what it's saying to someone who might not know you that well. And for the reel itself, we're looking at presentation in terms of things like how long it is, things like general flow and aesthetics, and titling, and cards at the end and the beginning, and again, all the info and whether it's enough or too much or that kind of thing. Material selection, we're looking at what kind of projects are in your portfolio and in your demo reel and what they might suggest about your past work history, your current skill sets, and your future ambitions. And content quality, we are looking at whether your stuff is good or not. And if it's not, if it's kind of fallen short in a few areas, we might give you some pointers on how you can level up your work. And finally, distinction is simply, are you standing out? As Andrea just mentioned, her EA gig had 900 applications. So if you aren't standing out in some respect, you're probably dead in the water. It's really damn important to stand out in some way at least, because even if you didn't get that job this time around, next time you apply, you might have someone on the other end of the line being like, oh yeah, this guy, this girl. Or simply, if you didn't get the job, but you're like real close, and then that recruiter's buddy is saying, hey, you know anyone? And you can say, heck yeah. I know this, I know Daniel Kim. Check him out. Okay, you ready to get going here, Andrea? You happy?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm zooming enough, right? 150. Okay. So right away we got sound design about projects, music, blog. I've been waiting so patiently to press this blog button. So when do you think his last blog post was? Unless you already looked.
I didn't already look, but maybe 3 months ago.
Okay, 3 months ago. I'm gonna say.
Dark.
I know Daniel's been looking forward to be on Real Talk. I'm gonna say it was last week. I'm gonna be real optimistic this week. Real optimistic.
Right.
We'll see what happens here. Blog. Let's go. We got March 5th. Oh.
March.
So
5th.
close.
Oh wow, so close.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. Well, there you go. And
Sweet.
before that, we had February, and before that, we had November of previous year, October previous year, October again. October again? Jeez. 3 October posts. That is crazy. Audio development in August, July. Not bad. Older posts yet? How many posts do you have, man? This is actually really impressive. Whoa, this text is massive. What's happening here? A cache to car. Great. This is huge text. It's hilarious. Anyways, back to the main page. Good on you, Daniel. Well done. Okay, we got sound design, about, project, music. Let's jump into about right away here, Andrea.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Here we go. So we got, hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a game sound designer. I'm currently working on 3 exciting projects. That's a bold move. I'm currently in a bio. Hopefully you keep it updated, man. My most recent shipped project was Food Drive, Race Against Hunger, with Gamers for Good. Yeah, good on you. Which is currently preparing its launch for Nintendo Switch and Xbox One soon. Aside from my love for spicy food, I love learning about audio. What? Do we already know this? Okay, I love learning about audio, especially in the technical side of things. When I'm not blowing stuff up in my garage and recording interesting sounds, I am learning new implementation techniques or just testing weird, cool stuff on Wise. I graduated from CSU Long Beach in December 2018, whatever, 2018, with a Bachelor of Music in Music Composition. In the prior year, I was selected as a Game Audio Network Guild Scholar of 2017. Cool. I worked as a conference associate during GDC 1918, and games I'm enjoying right now are Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, 2,000 times, my case right now, that's funny, Witcher 3, and Darkest Dungeon. Brownie points, I don't believe you. Games that I'm looking forward to are Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, cool. So clearly you are a CD Projekt fan. Great. I like this bio. It tells me about you, man. Good on you. It's not too long. It's like pretty. What the? One of those. I pressed S on Squarespace. It's that stupid. Ugh. I hate it. Doesn't matter.
I think that it's good that it's personal. Like a lot of that stuff, I might not add that much detail just because I think that some of the things maybe you can say in an interview.
Yeah, the spicy food's weird.
Sorry, what?
The spicy food is a little bit weird. I was like, what?
Yeah, so I like the humor and everything, but I think that in an interview they might ask you, oh, so what games are you playing right now or whatever, and so I think just maybe having it a little bit more focused on the audio things that you do would be good. But yeah, that's just that's just my take on it.
Yeah. I think that being jokey in any kind of application or your main site is definitely a little bit of a bold choice. It might not be like a black mark, but I mean, depends how jokey you are. With some pretty rough bios in the past. But yeah, like this is kind of you can get rid of that, Daniel, the spicy food thing, and just keep it really relegated to, or really, is that the right word? Restricted to the things that are like really relevant to your audio stuff. But the reason I like this bio is because it's about you, and it's not like we've seen bios in the past that could apply to anybody. Like, I am passionate about game audio. I will make your game sound good. It's like, well, yeah, I hope so, you know. But yeah, it's good. The CA thing in 2019, 2018, and doing like Gamers for Good. It's clear you're involved in the community and you're doing cool stuff. So good on you. Okay, let's move into let's go to projects and glance really fast, and music as well. So we got Food Drive, Flight, and Lanternal, as well as some work in projects. Work in process projects. Jeez, yeah. I couldn't say that. I kept reading the word project. I couldn't say it. Scary World, Beachcomber, and Garden Warrior. Great. Oh, what the heck? There's like bottom things too. What are these? Oh, it's further links. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, I didn't know these are links. Interesting. Great. So on to music. Fun, battles, fantasy, ambient. Okay. If we were Will Roger, we'd listen to top left first. Will Roger was on the show before GDC, if you weren't watching, Andrea. Let's listen fast. Here we go.
All right. So I should mute.
Cool. Carrying on. Sound design. Got it. So, want to watch a reel, Andrea? Andrea! I think she's listening. I totally faked her out.
Sorry. Yeah. No. I was muting myself. So, do we want to listen to the music, or are we just going?
I was just glancing real fast, just curious.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, let's look at this. Or I was faking you out there. I apologize.
Okay, no.
Let's go to the demo reel on the front page, though. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we're listening now, right?
Yeah, Sean, it was good. Sorry, Sean was saying I wouldn't have stopped that. I apologize to everyone. I was just curious. I was just curious. It wasn't bad. I agree. It was cool. Let me. But I want to hear the main demo reel though.
Okay.
So let me just get this queued up. I'm gonna press. I think it's Vimeo, right? Whoa. Yeah. Okay. Vimeo. We go to the beginning, and I'm going to mute myself, but I'll press play. Are you ready? Press play. So I'll watch the whole thing through here. It's only a minute long. Oh, it's 56 seconds.
Yeah.
What a G. So we're going to play in 3, 2, 1, go. Yo, cool. All right, Andrea, you there? She might be muted.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I just finished. I'm
Okay.
trying to get it synced up at the same time you're doing it. Okay,
Oh, no
yeah,
sweat,
I'm here.
Okay, that was cool. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Tony says, "Where's the Matt-esque? I mean, ambience. Any of these." So, before we get in too deep, do you have like a sentence or two, just first impressions in this thing?
I had a question about so you edited together all of the footage for that, right? Daniel? I think that just the pacing, I know you were trying to get everything around 1 minute or so. But I think that like it just felt like I was just thrown into the middle of something without as much context, and I think that it had like a little bit to do with the editing of everything to just try to squish as many sounds into like the video that you could to like show me everything you could within a minute. And I think that's it's great that you respect um, whoever you're like whoever's evaluating this. Um, you respect their time, but I think that you can also just take a little bit of moment to let people breathe and give them a little bit more context for the sounds. Just because I was like, oh yeah, that's a cool sound here, and then all of a sudden I was thrown there, and then there's an explosion. But yeah, like in general, I really liked your sounds, but I think that like maybe if you could like edit out some of the scenes so you can actually hear like some of the details within that scene, then it'll allow the listener to appreciate things a little bit more. But yeah, I just felt like really condensed things that I didn't have time to react to like necessarily like right in the moment of like within the minute. But yeah, I really liked the sound design for your riot stuff. I think that the social game one, I think it's good that you added in something that you personally worked on. But in terms of like the quality, like, I would like, I actually wouldn't mind that you only show things that you resound design to, just like whatever showcases your skill set in the best light possible. But
Yeah,
that's like,
totally. I think, yeah, I'm really curious to get into the nitty gritty in this one because I think it was really strong
yeah,
throughout. But so I'll say right away, like I'm a huge proponent of like keeping your stuff short and to the point and being like a teaser, as long as the things you want to see, as long as like the full form, like the long form of the things in the reel are available with information somewhere. As long as it's there, I'm like sweet, because like you're saying, 900 applications, having that many, being like this is sweet, right? Look at more. It's kind of, I think it's pretty effective, but I do agree the flow was it was a bit erratic. I mean, even for example, the second part being like really quiet and kind of chill compared to the first bit, I was like, whoa, and now we're down here, I guess. Okay. And yeah, I would have liked to hear some more detail as well. The first clip was, I mean, I'll watch it again at low volume just to kind of talk over it. I'll turn my sidechain on too. But just for some quick things, the opening being designed, sweet. But it's like almost too fast, dude, because you've got, I can freeze a frame here where you have your name and the lower third of the next thing are like both visible. It's so fast, man. So I applaud you in your efforts to be quick, but I think you can probably swing the pendulum back a little bit. Just kind of let things breathe just a touch more. And it's a nuanced kind of thing. And there's just as far as my quick first impression, I did feel like I was being pulled around a bit more than I need to be. And a big part of that was on the second clip, like truck sound, for example. I don't need to be told I must do a truck. Like I know, like I know to listen to the thing in the clip. And then as well, you've got like information, audio feedback, and then you've got adaptive music. And I didn't acknowledge any of this stuff the first time I watched through because I was watching your game. Like I was watching what was happening, and I was fully ignoring the secondary lower third thing you had going on here. I don't think you need to have it at all. This is a great thing to have in your secondary video, which it seems like you have right here. Like you've got the wise demonstration of Food Drive, and we'll glance at that really fast as well. I'm curious what's in there. But yeah, this does not need to be in your main reel, man. Like at all. There's no reason for it to be there. And then into this stuff like final score reward system. Like we know it says your score right here, dude. give your viewers some credit here. So Cyberpunk. So here's the thing: your league clip was pretty action packed, and then your Cyberpunk clip was pretty action packed too.
yeah,
So it didn't feel like it was like Andrew was saying, the showing some detail and some breathing room in your work might be a good move, because I mean we do have like kind of a quiet moment of your Food Drive stuff, which I think it sounds pretty good actually. But given that you're trying, I mean, my assumption thus far, and I'll ask you this in a second too, Andrea. Actually, I'll ask you first. What kind of gigs do you think Daniel's gunning for in the near future, like a AAA gig or an indie gig or a studio like ours? What do you think?
Like based on like, it felt like you were trying to get like a AAA sound designer gig. Like I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. But like, something I also wanted to mention was that I like how you kind of branded yourself in a way, like with the Daniel Kim logo and
Yes, yes,
even
yes, yes.
the clips that you chose, like the sound design matched kind of your logo, your logo branding as well. Like I totally got that like cyberpunk feel for everything actually. So like if I were looking for a sound designer for a game that has that vibe, like I would definitely think, to go to you. So that's something to consider maybe, like, if you want to be kind of known as like that type of sound designer, like maybe it's worth like taking out the middle section of the social game stuff because that kind of felt out of place to me compared to the first and the third clips in terms of themes.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's definitely tricky because it's kind of a I see what you're doing, Daniel. You're trying to strike a balance between like, hey, I'm doing stuff. Like, look, I'm working. Here's the thing that's shipped, and also trying to show like what you want to be doing. So typically, when I see a redesign, I think, okay, this is an indication of what kind of work they'd like to be doing in the future. So we've had reels in the past where they redesign like Hyperlight Drifter and then redesign like The Witcher 3, and I'm like, what the heck do you want to be working on? Because it's like these are totally different markets and like echelons of development and stuff, right? So with this one being Cyberpunk 2077, along with your League of Legends, I mean, they're different kinds of games, of course, but they're both in the same level of development. So, yeah, I think that you probably could. I think you could make this work, having these two things or these three things in a reel. Again, I want to reiterate, like my opinion is not the gospel at all. Andrea just finished saying that she feels it's out of place, and that's fully a valid opinion as well, right? So with this one, I think you could make it work, but the problem to me is that it's such a drop down in energy compared to the other two clips. So the fact that it's already a very different project, and then on top of that, it's a very different like level of intensity. It just
yeah.
that I think is contributing to why it doesn't feel like it's flowing very well right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also like um I wasn't sure what the like for the first and the third clips, I felt like the emphasis was very, very sound design focused, just because like in those like at least for the Riot stuff, like I know in that trailer there was a lot of music in that trailer, and so the fact that it was just all sound design, I liked that because I'm like, okay, this person is applying for like a sound design job, and they actually are showing off sound design skills and not necessarily just music skills, And
Mm-hmm.
so like I think the middle clip, I was a little confused as to like what like the goal of that was like because I know there was like music and there was also some sound design and there was also some implementation, but the focus seemed a little bit split there, and then you went back into like the cyberpunk stuff, which was more like similar in terms of the goal and also the content, like focused on sound design for the third clip. So that was just like, to me, that's why I think it felt a little out of place as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I do want to. I mean, this is cool, Daniel. I'll be honest. I'll say I had no idea what your chops were like. I've seen the chat and stuff, and I had no idea what your chops were like as far as your sound design and music goes. So I'm stoked that it's pretty good, man. Um, I definitely have notes, certainly, but so yes, we'll just do a quick kind of again. We'll jump through the criteria here really fast. So we got presentation first. We mentioned the lower thirds. First off, your opening is very cyberpunky. It's like matching the freaking cyberpunk logo a little bit, like Andrew was saying. It feels like you belong there, So good on you. Uh, this I like your branding a lot. I think you can go a little bit longer on it. The fact it's designed is awesome. You've got like your font choices that are then mirrored in the actual video. Um, it's not like really obvious because your fonts are kind of generic in like Daniel Kim sound design. But I mean, I actually wasn't even sure. I thought they weren't at first, but then realized they in fact were. But that's fine, not a big deal. Sound redesign, good to go. The sorry, my progress bar is gone. Thanks, Vimeo. You've got the food drive thing here, you can go a little bit darker on your lower thirds probably as well. It's a little bit dim, but not. That's very very nitpicky, obviously. The music thing, yeah. I mean, it's a tricky thing because it's a sound design. You got games sound design at the top here. I appreciate that you did music, and you're probably capturing from the game. But if you're able to capture sound design only, then heck yeah, you should do it. I think you should do it definitely if you're gunning for a sound design gig, because no
Yeah.
one. It's especially sort of this one last thought, Andrea. The thing to realize is if you were to get hired at CD Projekt Red, for example, they're not going to put you in a position where you're mixing the game. Like this is not going to be a job you have, not for a while. So you'd be doing sound design like in a junior sound design role. And so to have your mixing chops on display isn't really going to help you that much, probably. I mean, I know that Andrea's looking to hire for like a senior sound design gig right now, or if you were hiring junior, for example, I don't think, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrea, but I don't think you'd be caring that much about like someone's mixing chops outside of their sound design work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I think like one thing, that might help with this is that like maybe you can separate it out into like a sound design reel and then a music reel so that like, I kind of have in my mind, okay, I'm going to be listening to music or oh, okay, I'm going to be listening for sound design versus like kind of like a all in like versus having like a more unfocused reel. But yeah, that would kind of be my suggestion on that.
Josh Adam Bell in the chat, the legend, is talking about lower thirds a bit. I fully agree, is saying that you can get away with a bit more description text in the main lower thirds titles, I think, so as long as it's static for the duration of the clip. Yeah, fully. The secondary third thing, just get rid of it, dude. And then you have a little more room to play in here. Go look at joshadambell.com's freaking lower thirds. In fact, let's do it right now. In classic Real Talk style, let's go look at Josh Adam Bell's website. Here it is. Press and play. I'm going to just pause it and click ahead in the video. Yeah, perfect lower third. Look at this. It's so good. Look how good this is. He does this like bolding thing too, right? Bolds ambience, bolds Grimlock Station. And compare that to yours. Yours definitely looks a little more like busy and kind of crowded. So yeah, just go look at Josh. You nailed it. You got hired the next week, man. You can't say no to that, You can't ignore that fact. Okay, let's jump into actually talking about content quality a bit. So we've been talking about the material and the flow a lot, but we got 15 minutes left, so we'll have some time to dig into some details here. So perhaps I'll start us off. One thing I did see, Daniel, is that your sense of I'm going to focus on your AAA stuff because that's what you want to be working on, right? So let's do that. But I do want to say I liked the Games for Good food drive, like casual sounds, like the thup 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 of the shots and stuff. Sounds awesome. Good on you. So, but into the cyberpunk bit, we'll play it back kind of quietly here, really fast here. Just, so it's right here, right at like 38 seconds-ish. Yeah, so the gun foley, like I'm terrible at gun foley, but one thing that's tricky is kind of making guns actually have their own identity. And one thing I'll say is it seemed like a lot of your kind of movement and like gun reloads and stuff kind of sounded similar. And I also didn't really believe that they were in the space that I'm looking at. Like they kind of like this load here. If I look at like this first gun sound, that one versus that one, like they kind of both sound like, as far as closeness, they sound the same. So, but I mean, the one is like right in our face, and the next one is like across the room kind of thing, right? So I think you could probably just think more about mixing your like we're getting like real nuance too, which is good news. It means your stuff is like fundamentally pretty good as it is, right? So think of it in terms of dimension, like where it is in the space, and think about the implications that has on frequency content and EQ. So things being right in your face, you're gonna have a little more nuance, more detail, and furthermore more bass. That's a big part of it too. And also think about dimension, frequency content, and panning. So think about where it is in the field. I think you did a bit of that. Let's make sure here. Yeah, it's kind of over to the right. It's maybe a bit far to the right, but it's just that's like the last step. It's like the last 10% of the last 90% really is all those details and trying to make things feel like they're really living in the same world, in the same space. So that was the one thing I noticed on the very first watch through that stuck out to me. And I'd be curious to hear kind of your thoughts on the AAA stuff. And you were saying the League stuff. You had some thoughts, Andrea. Andrea, if Andrea's there. She may have muted to watch the thing.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now. There you
go. Okay, sorry. I thought I unmuted. Yeah, so in regards to the gun stuff, I think that something that is missing a little bit for me is the feeling of motion, like, just really, like, if the gun is going, like having the ricochets and, like, even things that are off screen and then coming into the screen, like, you don't necessarily see that, but then you want the sound to kind of communicate, like, oh, if I'm being shot at or if this bullet is flying from there to there. And especially when things are going on so quickly, like, people may not be able to see it, but if they hear the movement of the bullets, then they can kind of understand the narrative quicker and better and more effectively. And also, like, where the bullets are actually, like, landing, like, like, I feel like there could be a lot more sense of the aftermath, like, the bullet hit this thing and it crashed, or, a lot of that stuff may be happening off screen that you can kind of even use your creativity to kind of, like, you're telling the story of, like, what is actually happening. And then let me see, in terms of the so as, like, I was also looking down at, like, the rest of your website. I saw, like, there were, like, full sound redesigns, and then you have, like, the Cyberpunk and the League of Legends trailers, like, the longer versions of them below your main reel. So yeah, I mean, I think those, like, they seem like, I listened to a little bit while I was muted, and the length of those feel better to me. So I actually wouldn't mind just, like, maybe even like stitching those two together to be a part of your main reel. Wait, I'm not muted anymore, right?
No, I hear you. We all hear you.
Okay.
Could you imagine if we're just sitting here in silence for that long?
Okay. Yeah. No, because I just looked at the chat and then it said Andrea MIA. I'm like, oh no.
No, we gotcha.
Yeah. And in regards to the riot stuff, so I watched the. Do you want to just watch the longer version of the League of Legends one?
Yeah, sure. I'll just crank it up here. I was curious to see them, definitely, because I was curious if they had some kind of more mid-range action moments that you might be able to kind of dig into, Daniel. So let me just do that. I'm going to mute you, though. Sorry, I lost, like, while you were talking, my machine, Windows just minimized everything, so I apologize if that was kind of distracting for a second. Yeah, there we go. So I'll make sure I'm muted again, or am I? Oh, bless. Jesus, sorry about this. So, okay, so we'll go ahead in 3, 2, 1, yeah? So 3, 2, 1, and go. Turn my sidechain on here while it's playing. Oh, it's almost done. Anyway, it's great. So, okay, here I'm back. Are you there? Hopefully. I'm gonna start talking until Andrea gets back. So, basically, if I were to describe that redesign in one word, Daniel, I would use the word exhausting. And it's, I appreciate what you're doing with it. You're like, I'm putting it all in. The problem is always with redesigns, there isn't enough sound, right? And you're totally correct. That's the most common issue with redesigns of AAA projects, anything really, is that people stop at like 30% done, and they're like, sounds great. It's so full of energy and life now compared to when I started, when it was silent. And they're correct in that assessment, but it doesn't mean it's done. Whereas yours, it's pretty. So my immediate thought is that you might want to further consider what the most important part of each moment is, and each scene, and what the story being told is, and think of mixing from that perspective. I'm gonna go to this. It's later in the video, maybe like 30. Let's see where it was. It was like really kind of egregious in this one spot. Yeah, like 35 seconds or so. I don't know these characters' names. Sorry, I'm not a league guy, but 35 seconds. I'll play this really fast. Just that, so right at like 45, it's crazy, man. Like it's so unfocused. Like this is, so 44. I wish I knew these people's names. I could tell you who they are, but like this right here, this clip of, I'm gonna call her girl jumping up on big guy. Is
that a collie? Yeah, I think it's a collie.
A collie jumping up on. Oh wait, is this a collie? The girl's name is collie? I don't know.
The girl.
Okay,
yeah,
the girl. So a collie jumps up, and like the focus. I'm gonna mute this for a second. Now watch it muted. Okay. So here we go. So in this shot, like all we see, yes, it's important to have ambience. Like Matt asks special, put your ambience in there. It's in there, but man, there's a lot of ambience. Holy crap. So in this case, all we see right now in the frame is this. So this should absolutely be what we're hearing right at the forefront. But if we crank this up again, full volume, I'm gonna go full volume. Watch this like 3 seconds again, okay? There's so much going on, man. It's crazy. So yeah, I think that if I were to encourage you to level up one thing in your audio, in your design, it would be focusing your mix. So I'm curious what you have to say, Andrea.
Yeah, in that section over there, all I could hear was just like really high-end frequency things, and then it was just like very metallic. Like all I heard was like a collie's like little knives or not knives, daggers or whatever, and like I think that there were just a lot more important things going on, and like yeah, I do agree that the mix could use more focus, just because like you don't want to inform the listener of everything that's going on, but you want to draw their attention to the whole narrative and the storyline of the trailer. So you want to draw attention to the things that are like the action things that are happening. Like there's like all these like people fighting in the background, but we don't necessarily need to hear them. Like it almost would be cool for a dramatic effect to only hear like a collie up close, like
yeah, especially if it's like if you establish the shot and like what if you hear them for a bit and then like in that moment it's like, but now this is all that matters. Like having that push and pull in your mix makes a really dynamic and interesting shot. And again, pulling back to my first word, exhausting. It's because you're just like, listen to all this crap forever, and it's really hard for the listener to like really stay engaged the whole time if you're just like throwing stuff in their ears the entire time,
Yeah, and I feel like it's a similar issue with the shortened trailer as well. Like I felt like that same kind of like I was a little stressed out, just like because there were just so many sounds coming at me at the same time, and I think a lot of that had to do with the editing, but a lot of that also has to do with like what is the most important, and yeah, like, and then people have space to hear the little details because you're like, oh, it's really quiet, but I want to draw your attention to this or that, versus like someone who's like blasting at 10 all the time, then you just can't hear anything because it's just like a block, like almost like a block of sound. But yeah, no, I like the actual sounds, I think, in general, but like it's just I don't have the space and time to like hear them.
Yeah, you're not doing yourself any favors, Daniel, definitely. As far as like you put so much work in all these detailed nuanced moments in the design, but we just aren't hearing them because there's just so much going on. I'm sure there's tons of masking happening. Like the kind of things where like psychoacoustically, you know it's there and you can hear it, but we don't because it's our first time hearing it, and we don't have the same like experience of hearing the various ingredients that went into it. So it's really important to think about that fact that it's like when you're doing a trailer with narration and you recorded the voiceover, you wrote the script, you recorded the voiceover, you edited it, you put it into the mix. You know what those words are, but it's a real trick to kind of pull back and think of it from, objectively and say, can someone hear every word the first time watching this through? And that's where the mix comes into play, right? You need to say, well, how much space is needed between this important thing and everything else? So that same concept, thinking about like, Akali's daggers or whatever Andrew was saying, and like what, if we can hear that, if it's important to hear that, and when it's important to hear that, and just pushing and pull your mix to suit that, right? There's a great analogy in the chat. Tony called out the entire page is highlighted. I love that. Definitely, just like everything's important, and it's not. It's not important.
And I think especially like when the trailer has those moments where it's like a slow motion type thing, like that's like your moment to shine when you like can like strip out everything else and then like have a super zone and focus on one sound, and they're like, and then all of a sudden you hear everything again when that slow motion shot goes back into real time. So yeah, I think in general, like less is more, and silence sometimes can be your friend.
Definitely. We're almost wrapped here. I do want to just glance real quick at this Wise demonstration. It's so big in the pane. Let's just play like 10 seconds. Just really quick. I'm just curious what this is going to be formatted like.
Hi, my name is Daniel.
Yes, awesome. All I wanted to know was Daniel was talking to us, and he is talking to us. I'm so pumped. How long is this thing? It's 5 minutes long. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. Andrea, do you mind if we watch like a minute of it? Just to wrap up the stream?
I am the audio designer.
Oh, she's already watching it? Okay, let's press play.
I thought we were watching.
No sweat. Let's. I'm going to go again. Let's go.
And I'm the audio designer for the game Food Drive. Today, I wanted to show you how I used Wise and C# to implement some of the features in this game. I'll be going over the car engine, how I handled collisions, important player feedback sounds, adaptive music, as well as fun bonus, the scoring system that happens at the end of the round. To create a dynamic engine sound, I used the blend track in Wise. I went to my kitchen and recorded my blender to get two different looping sounds, a low humming sound for our truck, and another one that will change pitch. I then layered it with the truck neutral sound that I got from a library. In Unity, I tied the player's truck speed value with the speed RTPC, and set settings for what the player should hear at a given speed. As the player moves faster, the pitch, volume, and filters are being applied in real time to create the truck's sounds. Finally, to convince the realism of the truck, I added an additional roar of an engine when the player accelerates, and drifting sounds for when the player drifts. Since this game was originally inspired by Crazy Taxi, we want to hear sounds when we crash into trees, buildings, and other cars.
This game sounds great,
Even
man.
when the car flips up into the air
like
and
it.
crash lands on the floor, I want there to be a sound. After adventuring into my garage and backyard for sounds, I ended up with collision sounds for 15 different materials. This includes bricks, bushes, trees, metal fences, and so on. In Unity, I
Get rid
added
of your
colliders
lower
for
thirds
every
in this
single
video, dude.
object
You're
in
talking
the
to us,
game
it's fine.
and tagged them with their corresponding materials. Then, in the collision script, it checks for what
we don't
sound
need
should
this.
play when the
You're just
player
pulling our attention
touches
around.
that material. Finally, I used the playback limit setting in the audio file's advanced settings tab so that only one instance of the sound was playing globally at a time. This stops multiple collision sounds from happening at once. One of the most important sounds in
I'm going to pause there. Make sure. Okay, Andrea, I paused at like 2 minutes. I watched a minute more than I said what. I'm sorry. I made promises I didn't keep. Just because it's good. It's a good video. I'm still watching it, man.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I
This is
think it
killer.
totally like makes you like it adds a personal touch to your website that like I think you were trying to communicate in your about me section, and like I think that if you do take out like the I love the spicy food thing, we still get that personal touch with I totally get your personality just like by like seeing you like recording things and like just seeing your whole process. I like love that. Yeah, it's great.
Super good. It just adds so much Like this, like I was joking earlier about how the most important part of the interview is the ice cream afterwards, and it's like it's not a joke. Ariel Gross put up some how to get hired in game audio, or so you wanna. I don't recall what it's called, like a Yagama or something. It's a terrible acronym for it, but there's some article a while back when he was still at Volition about how their hiring process went, and same thing. He's like, the beers afterwards the most important part because you'll learn that the person's like a freaking weirdo or not. And this is such an indication that you're not, and you're clearly passionate, and you're like stoked to tell us about it. This is so effective, man. Good on you. Yet another game audio hiring article. Yeah, a Yagaha. I was close. Yeah, I love this, man. Like, I don't want to watch all of it right now because we're kind of over time right now, but I will definitely watch it off stream. And good on you. This is so effective. Just get rid of your lower thirds because you're telling us these things. And like the whole point of narrating or commentating your own video is to not have this kind of stuff on screen. So get rid of it. But dude, otherwise, like, heck yeah, I'm getting one of these again. It's so good. Okay, so I guess after all that, with the various things we called out, Andrea, do you think, even if it doesn't mean you'd hire him right now at high res, since you're hiring, even if you're not going to hire him right now, do you think that Daniel is standing out in the crowd?
Yeah, I really like your sound design skills. I think like, it's a matter of like learning how to tone things down. And, I'd rather have someone who like has more of something and then reeling them back versus someone who like doesn't have those things and you have to bring them up to that level,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I definitely think like, you're definitely on the right path and like, yeah, just keep going. It's super awesome.
Killer. I fully agree. Daniel, here's the thing. So what this whole site and the content therein tells me is that you're clearly serious, you clearly want to be doing this, and that you can be taught further. Because you've already taught yourself a bunch of stuff, and I believe that you're passionate, And teaching passion's way harder, if not impossible, than it is to teach someone how to make their mix gain more clarity, So I'm all in, man. You killed it. I'm into it. I'm not sure we're quite at Josh Adam Bell quality. Oh, he left. I was doing that joke for his benefit. He's already gone. Just joking around. I'm not sure it's like the best we've seen, but it's good, man. It's definitely good. We've put like 180 reels over the years, and this is definitely up there. So good on you. I want to give one more of these too for Andrea Chang. Again, audio elite at high res, making time in her busy schedule with her 9 teams or whatever it was over at high res.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's super awesome. Yeah, I really enjoy like, being able to interact with the game audio community too. And like, it's really exciting to see like the upcoming talent, like, and it makes me really hopeful, that like we're doing something right at least.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So thank you once more. Just a quick thing as well. I'll give you 30 seconds. Anything you want to talk about, anything we should be checking out right now, Andrea, the floor is yours. Go for it.
Anything that we should be checking out?
Yeah, your own stuff. If you want to plug anything you're working on, or if you want to, again, you're hiring, if there's like a job posting anywhere, go for it.
Yeah, no, we're hiring. So if you just go to the High Res Career website, yeah, sorry, I'm like, I don't know how this works. But,
is that somewhere right now? Like, I could even post that somewhere here. High Res job posting.
Let me see.
Do you have a link? I could post it somewhere here.
highresstudios.com/careers.
There we go. Yeah, I got it.
So right now we're like hiring for senior sound designers, but like I think like once we have those people in place, we likely will be like trying to get sound designer level people in. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout. We're looking to probably like at least double the size of our team, and
wow.
I'm really excited about how leadership is supporting audio, which is very rare. I think a lot of times in the community, or I mean, not in the community, in the games industry. And you know, I'm also looking for freelancers as well. So if you're like an audio vendor, or if you can't like relocate to Atlanta, we're in Atlanta, by the way. Yeah, so I'm also looking for, you know, sound design vendors, music vendors, VO vendors, field recording vendors in general, because we actually work really closely with Team Audio, and so they're like one of our main vendors, Team Audio and Chris Rickwood. And so, yeah, you know, it would be awesome to like have more people join in and like make awesome sounds and awesome music and awesome everything. But yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, great. Well, again, thank you once more. One more of these, and I'll let you go. Have a great night, all right? Okay, see you. Okay. Well, that was fun. Whoa, hi. That didn't work. Hello. How about this guy instead? There we go. It's a good tune. I do like it. It's damn good. Alright, thanks everyone for hanging out. That was a good time. Daniel Kim! What a guy. I was looking forward to seeing your stuff, man. Oh, actually, this is a better track. This is the one. This is the one you want. Oh, yeah. There we go. This is the track to go out on. Here it is. Again, if you're at PAX East, head over to the No More Robots booth, the Brace Yourself Games booth, the Finji booth. A bunch of our stuff being shown there. And I guess I'll call it right there. Daniel, it's so good, man. Thank you for submitting your stuff. If anyone in the chat wants to submit their own work, feel free to do so via Twitter down below or via our contact form on our website too. It's all good. Anything's fine. In the coming weeks, we have guest hosts such as... next week is Eduardo Ortiz Frau. He's a freelancer sound designer known for such games as Gorogoa, Everything, Never Ending Nightmares, Apotheon, Cryptarch. The list goes on. He's been on so many things. Great, great guy. We've got the following week the fellows from Ninja Theory, Alessio Molina and David Garcia. Thereafter, Josh Adam Bell and Barney Ornum from Cloud Imperium. And then Jonas Turner, who's another freelancer friend of mine, did games such as Broforce and Nuclear Throne and Downwell and Badlands 1 and 2, or Badland 1 and 2. He's done a lot of stuff, a whole lot of stuff. His own game, Tormentor X Punisher, which was nominated for an IGF award last year for Best Audio. He's been killing it. And finally, we have Adam Gubman on May 2nd, who is a really good pal of mine, composer. He's done like 500 games plus easily. He's crazy prolific and a great mentor to the community as well. So I'm looking forward to that. So stay tuned for coming weeks, and please submit your stuff to have some stuff reviewed. All right? I'll see you around. Enjoy the rest of your week. But actually, how good is this track? Jeez.